The room is silent. Only the hum of your own pulse fills the air. You feel it in your throat, your temples, your chest. Steady, insistent, unrelenting. It reminds you of the truth you've been avoiding. Time is moving, with or without you. Every breath is one less chance to become the person you swore you'd be. You've made promises before. You've whispered vows into the dark. Tomorrow, you said. Next week, you said. But tomorrow kept slipping into yesterday, and the weight of delay pressed harder on your spine. You began to wonder if this is just who you are, half done, half committed, half alive. But here you are again, standing at the threshold. One more chance to choose, one more chance to burn down the excuses and rebuild from ash. You don't need motivation, you need transformation. Small, ruthless atomic steps that fracture your old self and assemble someone unrecognizable, someone unstoppable. The world outside is loud with distraction, but right now it's just you, your breath, your heartbeat, and the choice that will define everything. This is the moment you stop quitting. This is where you begin again. You wake before the world does. The air is heavy with silence, like a theater just before the curtain lifts. The streetlights still burn outside, dim guardians of a night that doesn't want to end. And you lie there, caught in that first raw moment between sleep and action. The war begins here, not in the gym, not in the office, not in the heat of the afternoon, but right now with the decision to rise or stay. The bed whispers to you, stay a little longer. You've earned it. You need rest. But you know the truth. Every time you give in to that voice, you sharpen its blade. It carves deeper into your will, day after day, until you become its prisoner, and no habit can be built behind bars. So you rise, not because it's easy, not because it feels good, but because each small act of defiance is a seed that says, I am stronger than my excuses. I am stronger than the comfort that tries to keep me. One push against inertia and suddenly the air changes. The silence feels different. The world tilts slightly in your favor because you moved first. This is the architecture of habit. Not grand declarations, not cinematic montages where everything changes in a flash. No, habits are forged in the quiet rebellion of ordinary mornings. The cup of water instead of the soda, the page written instead of the scroll through endless feeds, the 5 push-ups done in the dark instead of promises whispered into the void. Atomic steps, so small they seem laughable until they become unshakable. And yet you resist them because the mind wants drama. It wants the big leap, the overnight success, the transformation others can applaud. You crave the cinematic reveal where the old you collapses and the new you emerges, bathed in light. But life does not give you that. Life gives you shadows, repetition, monotony, and in those shadows you must fight. There will be mornings when nothing changes. You'll still feel tired. You'll still crave the comfort. You'll still doubt. You'll wonder if it matters at all. And in that wondering, your old self waits, sharpening its chains, smiling in the dark. But listen closely. This is where the crescendo builds. This is where silence cracks open. Because in those very moments of doubt, your habit writes its truth. Every action is a vote. Every choice is a stroke of paint on the canvas of your becoming. When you pick up the glass of water, you are casting a vote for discipline. When you put on your shoes, even if you run only a block, you are casting a vote for resilience. When you say no to the endless scroll, you are declaring war on distraction. One vote will not decide who you are, but thousands will sculpt you into someone unrecognizable to the person who kept quitting. Do not underestimate this. Do not dismiss the small step because it feels insignificant. Imagine a drop of water falling into a canyon. One drop means nothing, but millions of drops carve stone. Time bows to persistence. The earth itself bends to repetition, and so will you. You may think, I've tried before, I've failed before. But failure is not proof that you are weak. It is proof that you have fought. And fighting is the only way habits are born. The difference is this: you must not quit this time, not at day 7, not when the rush fades and boredom settles in, not when progress hides itself from your eyes. Never quit, because quitting is the only guarantee that nothing will change. And so the scene shifts. Imagine yourself months from now, walking through a crowd. No one recognizes the war you fought at dawn, the battles against comfort, the votes you cast when no one was watching. But they will see the result. They will feel it in your presence, in the steadiness of your breath, in the way your eyes do not flinch. They will sense a weight in you, not heaviness, but gravity, the kind that only comes from someone who has stopped running from themselves. The music of this story swells now. You feel the crescendo rising inside your chest, your heartbeat sinking with the drum of possibility. You see flashes of both futures, one where you gave in, one where you endured, and the silence between them is unbearable. You can almost hear the voice of your old self begging you to step back into the shadows. But there is another voice now, clearer, sharper. It does not beg, it commands. Rise, drink, write, move, build. Repeat. You may stumble, you may fall, but you will not vanish. Each step, no matter how small, leaves a mark on the stone. Each choice chisels at the sculpture of your becoming. And one day, without ceremony, without warning, you will look in the mirror and realize the old you is gone, buried under the weight of 1,000 choices. And you will smile, not because it was easy, but because you finally understood the truth. The power was never in the grand gesture. It was always in the smallest act, the atomic habit, the seed that refused to die. The silence returns now, the music fades, the lights dim back into shadow. But you are different than when you began. You have already cast a vote. You have already risen once. And you will rise again, because this is the beginning. And beginnings demand blood, sweat, and silence. Never quit. The world wakes slowly. Engines rumble, doors slam, screens light up in the half-dark. People stumble into their routines without thought, prisoners of habits they never chose. You watch them, and you realize something brutal. Most lives are not lived, they are repeated. Yesterday becomes today, today becomes tomorrow, a loop disguised as existence. And you, if you are not careful, will be swallowed into the same loop, because the pull of sameness is strong. It whispers, stay safe, stay small, stay predictable. It seduces you with comfort, the kind that feels warm but slowly poisons. You know this truth, even if you try to bury it. You've seen people trade their fire for routines that keep them alive but never awake. So you stand at the edge of this current, this river of sameness, and you make a choice. Will you drift, or will you carve? Carving hurts. Carving takes blood from your knuckles and time from your lungs. But only carving gives you shape, and shape is what makes you unforgettable. This is why habits matter. Not because they make you productive, not because they give you check marks and streaks. Habits matter because they are the blade you wield against the blur of existence. Each one is a cut into the stone, a refusal to be erased. When you choose your habits, you are your life. Think of it, a single action repeated can rewrite the story of who you are. One person takes a drink every night, and the story bends toward decay. Another reads a single page every night, and the story bends toward wisdom. 2 lives, 2 directions, written not by fate but by repetition. You are not sculpted by what you occasionally do, but by what you refuse to stop doing. But here's the danger. Habits, once planted, grow roots deep into the soil of your days. And roots do not care if they nourish or poison. They will hold you either way. So if you are careless, if you allow distraction, laziness, or resentment to harden into patterns, you will wake up one morning trapped by the very rhythms you allowed. Shackled by invisible chains, you forged yourself. This should terrify you. It should make your skin burn, because it means every small choice is not small at all. Each one carries the weight of forever. You don't drink the glass of water, you drink 1,000. You don't waste 5 minutes, you waste years. Every act echoes forward. And when you hear that echo, when you feel the weight of it pressing back on you, you will understand. Nothing is neutral. Every habit shapes or destroys. The crescendo begins to build here. Imagine standing in a room with mirrors on every wall. In each mirror is a version of you, the disciplined one, the distracted one, the broken one, the unstoppable one. And they all stare back at you, waiting. Which one you become depends not on a single grand decision, but on the endless small ones that lead you there. You are the sculptor, but also the clay, the hammer, but also the stone. And so the war continues. It is fought in the quiet moments, the decision to rise or lie down, to reach for the book or the screen, to speak the truth or swallow it. These moments are silent, unseen. But they are not small. They are the foundation of the life you will either be proud of or ashamed of. But listen closely. Shame is a habit too. You've practiced it. You've worn it like a coat, heavy and damp. You've rehearsed failure until it feels like identity. And if you're not careful, you'll mistake the echoes of the past for chains on the future. But they are not chains. They are shadows, and shadows dissolve in light. So you turn toward light even if it blinds you. You take one step, then another, carving new grooves into your days. It will hurt. It will feel unnatural, like writing with your weaker hand. Your old self will scream, demand you return to the patterns that caged you. But you don't listen. You don't flinch. You keep cutting. You keep carving, because the stone does not shape itself. And then something shifts. Slowly, silently, invisibly at first. One day you realize you are not fighting as hard to start. The habit has begun to carry you like a river flowing in your favor. What once demanded force now feels like gravity. What once was a battle is now your baseline. This is the reward of consistency. The very thing that once drained you now sustains you. Do not mistake this for the end of the war. No, it is only a new battlefield. Comfort will sneak back in, disguised as progress. You'll tell yourself you've done enough. You've earned a pause. And maybe you have. But a pause can turn into a stop, and a stop can turn into a spiral. This is the truth. Momentum is fragile, and quitting does not happen in a single moment. It happens in the 1,000 silent surrenders that seem harmless until they strangle you. So you stay awake, you stay sharp. You remember that the smallest habits, the atomic ones, are the ones that decide everything. You protect them like fire in the wind, because they are fire, they are life. And without them, you fade back into the blur. The music swells again now. You see the river of sameness flowing by, thousands of faces drifting without thought. And then you see yourself not drifting, but carving. Each stroke, each cut, each choice pulling you further from the blur. You feel the burn in your muscles, the ache in your lungs, but you keep going, because this is not about comfort. This is about becoming unrecognizable to the one who quit. You step forward, the sound of your heartbeat like a drum in the dark. You breathe and the silence breaks. Pressure reveals you, not the easy mornings when everything goes your way, not the calm hours when the sky is clear. No, pressure strips away the layers. It drags the truth out of you like fire draws the shape from metal. And the truth, unfiltered, is brutal. When the weight presses down, you either break or you sharpen. You know this because you've broken before. Everyone has. You've tasted failure like rust in your mouth. You've stood in the middle of a mess you swore you'd never create. Maybe it was the skipped workout, the relapse into distraction, the lost day that turned into a lost week. Maybe it was bigger, a relationship cracked, a dream abandoned, a version of yourself you swore was permanent, suddenly gone. You felt the silence afterward, the hollow in your chest. The voice whispering, "See, you were never enough." And here lies the danger. That voice is not only an echo of failure, it is a habit. The mind learns to rehearse defeat until it becomes instinct. You stumble once and your brain begs you to stay down. You miss a day, and suddenly the story in your head is that you'll always miss, that this is who you are. But you are not the stumble. You are not the missed day. You are what you do next. This is the law of resilience. Discipline is not the absence of failure. It is the refusal to let failure decide the ending. You fall, yes. You bleed, yes. But you get up faster than you did before. You recover sharper. You rise meaner. This is how warriors are made. Not by perfection, but by relentless return. Picture this, a battlefield at dusk. Smoke hangs low. The ground is littered with scars. You are on your knees, lungs heaving, body trembling. Around you, others are giving up, dropping their weapons, walking off into the dark. And for a moment, you want to follow. You want to disappear, but something inside you snaps. A memory, a promise, a fragment of fire that refuses to die. You grip your weapon. You plant your feet. And though your body screams, you rise. That is the habit you are building. Not the habit of winning, but the habit of rising. Every setback is a rehearsal for strength. Every collapse is a lesson in recovery. You cannot control the strike that brings you down, but you can control the breath you take after. One breath, one decision, one act of defiance against the story of defeat. This is resilience. And here the crescendo swells. You feel the heat in your chest, the burn in your throat, the surge of every past failure rising like smoke. You see the faces of those who quit, those who accepted the lie that failure was final. And you scream silently at first, then louder, that you will not join them. You will not stay down. You will not let the weight of one moment crush the infinity of who you could become. Because here is the truth. Resilience is a habit just like any other. The more you practice rising, the easier it becomes. At first, it feels impossible. You drag yourself back with trembling hands. But then the muscle strengthens, the reflex sharpens. You fall and you rise quicker. You fall again and you rise almost without thinking, until one day, falling no longer terrifies you, because you know, without doubt, without hesitation, that you will rise. And when fear no longer controls you, freedom begins. This is not poetic. It is survival. The storm will come, the loss, the failure, the betrayal, the break. They are guaranteed. You cannot dodge them, but you can train yourself to endure them without losing your fire. This is why habits matter more than feelings. Feelings betray you in the storm. Habits hold you steady. When the storm rages and the world screams quit, your habit whispers louder, keep going. But do not mistake resilience for numbness. This is not about pretending you don't hurt, pretending you don't bleed. No, you will hurt. You will bleed, but you will keep moving step by step because you have built the habit of movement. Even through pain, especially through pain, you must learn to carry fire in the rain, to breathe when the air is thick with smoke, to walk when your legs scream for rest. This is what separates the unrecognizable future you from the ghost of who you were. And then something shifts. One day you look back at the storms you thought would end you. You remember the nights you were sure you couldn't recover, and you realize you are still here. You realize the storm didn't break you, it built you. The scars on your skin are not signs of weakness, but armor, proof, evidence that you rose. The music rises again faster now, your heartbeat syncing with the drum. You stand in the middle of the battlefield, breath heavy, eyes steady, scars glowing like steel in the dark. You do not feel fragile. You do not feel weak. You feel alive. Because resilience has become your rhythm, and then silence. The world does not cheer for you here. There is no applause, no spotlight, only quiet, only breath, only the steady knowledge that you are different now, that you are not the one who stays down. And that is enough. Identity is the deepest battlefield. Not the actions you take, not the rituals you perform, but the person you believe you are when the world falls silent. Because action without identity is fragile. You can force yourself to wake early, to push through workouts, to study, to grind. But if deep inside you still whisper, "This isn't me," then every habit is temporary. The old self waits, patient, until you crack and crawl back into its arms. That's why most resolutions fail. People try to graft new behaviors onto old identities. They want the results of discipline without shedding the skin of who they were. They lift weights but still see themselves as weak. They study but still believe they are scattered. They fight but still call themselves quitters. And identity always wins. You will always act in alignment with the story you believe about yourself. So the real war is not in the gym or at the desk. The real war is in the mirror. Stand there, look at your reflection. Do not look away. See the weight in your eyes, the lines of fatigue, the scars that whisper your past. And now ask yourself, who are you? Not who do you wish to be, not who do others expect you to be. Who are you when there is no one to impress, no one to applaud? If the answer makes you shrink, then you know the work ahead. Identity is not gifted, it is built, brick by brick, choice by choice, habit by habit. Every small act is not only a vote for your future, it is a chisel against the old self. You are not simply building routines, you are tearing down the architecture of who you once were. This is why atomic habits matter most. They are not about efficiency, they are about proof. Every time you wake early, you prove you are someone who rises. Every time you show up to train, you prove you are someone who honors the fight. Every time you write a single line, you prove you are a creator, not just a dreamer. Proof reshapes belief, and belief reshapes identity. But here comes the resistance. Your old self will not surrender easily. It will drag you back with memories of comfort, with whispers of failure, with the sweet poison of "this is who you've always been." It will show you evidence, the times you quit, the promises you broke, the patterns you repeated. It will parade them in front of you like chains, rattling, trying to convince you they still hold. But chains are not destiny. They are history. And history bends when you write it anew. So you must be ruthless. You must kill the old identity every single day. When it rises, you cut it down with action. When it whispers, you silence it with proof. When it clings, you burn it away with the fire of consistency. This is not cruelty. This is rebirth. And here the crescendo builds. Imagine the old you standing across from you in the dark. Weak, hesitant, distracted, addicted to comfort. They stare at you with hollow eyes, begging you to come back. And you feel the pull because you've lived there before. But then you remember the scars, the promises, the fire you've carried this far. You realize there is no going back. So you lift your hand, steady, deliberate, and you turn your back. The old self collapses into dust. That moment is not cinematic. No audience sees it. No music plays. It happens in silence, in solitude, in the private chambers of your heart. But it is the most important victory you will ever win, because until you kill the old self, the new one cannot live. Do this long enough, and one day you will look in the mirror and not recognize the eyes staring back. They will be sharper, steadier, unshaken. You will walk into rooms and people will sense it before you speak. The gravity in your presence, the steadiness in your breath, the quiet authority of someone who has burned away the softness of who they were. They will wonder what changed, but you will know it was not a single moment. It was 1,000 small deaths, 1,000 small births. The habit of proving to yourself over and over that you are no longer the one who quits. And in that proof, identity shifts. You stop saying, "I'm trying to be disciplined." You start saying, "I am disciplined." You stop saying, "I'm trying to quit quitting." You start saying, "I never quit." Identity is no longer a goal. It is the ground you stand on. But do not mistake this ground for permanence. Identity is alive. It breathes, it shifts, it grows. If you stop proving, if you stop chiseling, the old self will rise again. That is why you never quit. Not because quitting erases your progress, but because quitting resurrects the ghost of who you once were. So you remain relentless, you wake, you fight, you carve, you prove. You refuse the whisper of the past. You refuse the pull of comfort. You refuse to surrender the identity you bled to build. And then silence returns. You stand before the mirror again, breathing steady. The reflection does not look like yesterday, and it will not look like tomorrow, because you are no longer repeating, you are becoming. Legacy is not carved in stone, it is carved in habits, in the rhythm of your days, in the choices you repeat when no one is watching. People imagine legacy as monuments, awards, names etched into history. But the truer legacy is quieter. It lives in the air after you leave a room, in the strength or weakness you pass on to those who watch you, often without you noticing. You don't choose whether you leave a legacy. You only choose what kind. Every habit you build drips into the lives around you. A parent who wakes early, who moves, who reads, who builds, teaches discipline without words. A leader who sharpens themselves daily creates a culture of strength in silence. A friend who chooses truth over ease shows others that integrity is not negotiable. The opposite is true as well. Your distractions infect others. Your excuses give them permission to shrink. Your laziness spreads like smoke. Habits are never private, they are contagious. Think of it this way, you are writing not just your story, but chapters in the stories of others. Your children, your friends, your peers, they are watching. Even strangers catch glimpses of your consistency or your collapse, and every glimpse teaches them something. You are either a mirror of resilience or a mirror of surrender. Which one are you? This is the weight of habit. It is not about streaks or checklists. It is about inheritance. When you refuse to quit, you pass that refusal forward. When you cave, you pass that forward too. Legacy is built in silence. The morning when you rise, though no one notices. The decision to move your body, though no one claps. The act of honesty when lying would be easier. These moments ripple. They strike the air, and the air carries them further than you know. You may never see how far they reach, but they reach all the same. And here comes the crescendo. Imagine a ripple in water. You drop a stone, tiny, insignificant, yet the circle spreads, wider, wider, until it touches shores you cannot see. That is your habit. That is your vote for the future. Each glass of water, each page read, each moment of discipline, you are dropping stones into time, and the ripples will touch lives you will never meet. This should set fire to your chest, because it means your fight is bigger than you. When you choose discipline, you are not only sculpting yourself, you are lighting a path for others trapped in the same dark. Your persistence tells them it's possible. Your refusal to quit tells them they don't have to quit either. You are building a legacy of resilience, one choice at a time, but the reverse is just as real. Quit, and you normalize quitting. Break, and you teach breaking. Hide, and you teach hiding. The people around you will adopt your rhythm, whether you intend it or not. That is the responsibility you carry, the responsibility of influence. Do not take it lightly, because one day someone you love will stand in their own storm. They will feel the weight of failure pressing them down, and in that moment they will remember you. They will remember whether you rose or surrendered. And their choice will echo yours. So legacy is built not in the spotlight, but in the shadows, in the unseen, in the unglamorous, in the atomic acts of persistence that nobody applauds. The shadows are where you build your strength, and that strength becomes the torch others carry. But do not romanticize this. Legacy demands sacrifice. You will be misunderstood. People will mock your discipline. They will call you rigid, obsessive, unnecessary. They will try to pull you back into comfort because your fire exposes their weakness. and you will be tempted to shrink, to dim your flame so they feel safe. But shrinking builds nothing. Shrinking leaves no inheritance. Shrinking only ensures that the cycle of mediocrity continues. You must burn anyway. You must let the fire consume you, because only then can it spread. And here the music swells again. Picture a line of torches in the dark, stretching into the distance. Each torch lit by another, a chain of fire across time. That is legacy. Someone lit your torch with their persistence, their proof, their refusal to quit. And now it is your turn. You burn not only for yourself, but for those who will come after, for the ones who cannot yet see the light, but will. So your habits are not trivial, they are sacred. Each one is a flame passed forward. Protect it, feed it, guard it with everything you have, because one day, long after you are gone, someone will hold that flame and whisper gratitude for a life you never saw but helped ignite. And then the silence returns. No applause, no fanfare. Just you standing in the dark with the weight of the truth. Your life is not your own. Your habits are not your own. Your discipline is not your own. Everything you build will ripple outward, echoing in the lives of those who follow. And this is the choice. Will you leave them fire, or will you leave them ashes? You stand in the aftermath of battles you thought would break you. The echoes of old doubts still circle like vultures, but their wings beat weaker now. They sense the shift in you. You are no longer the same fragile thing that trembled at the first hint of struggle. You are calloused, scarred, alive. Every scar is a line of scripture carved into your skin, a record of lessons learned in blood. And yet there's a deeper silence you must confront, the silence of comfort creeping back in. Success, even the smallest taste of it, has a way of lulling you to sleep. You reach a milestone, breathe a little easier, and without noticing, you loosen your grip. You convince yourself you've earned rest. But rest, when stretched too long, becomes rot. Momentum dies quietly. Habits fracture slowly. You wake up one morning and realize the furnace has gone cold, and the climb feels steeper than ever. This is the danger no one warns you about. Comfort dressed as reward. It whispers, "Sit down, you've done enough." But you haven't, not yet. Not until your old self is unrecognizable. Not until the habits are no longer conscious effort, but instinct, hardwired into the marrow of your bones. So you must guard your fire. You must feed it with intention. Each morning, you strike the match again, refusing to let yesterday's flame be enough. You don't coast on the work you did last week. You don't drift on the victories you celebrated last month. You earn it again and again and again, until the act of earning is no longer a strain, but the way you breathe. Picture yourself in a room filled with shadows. Every corner hides a version of you that you once were, the procrastinator, the dreamer with no action, the coward who walked away when it got hard. They wait for you to slip, to stumble back into their arms. And the truth is, they never disappear completely. They live inside you, patient, ready. Your only defense is motion, relentless, uncompromising motion. If you stop, even for too long, the shadows close in. This is where discipline transcends motivation. Motivation is a flame that flickers. Discipline is the furnace that never dies. Discipline is choosing to lace your shoes when no one is watching. It's writing one more line, making one more call, lifting one more rep when your body pleads for surrender. Discipline is not glamorous, it's not cinematic, but it is the only thing that ensures you do not drift back into the comfort that once betrayed you. You will be tempted to romanticize the struggle, to imagine that transformation is one grand explosion of willpower, but the truth is harsher, simpler, and infinitely more demanding. It is repetition, the same actions over and over until they engrave themselves into the architecture of your mind, until the weight of habit bends reality itself. Listen closely. There is a rhythm to greatness, like a war drum in the distance. Each choice you make adds to that rhythm, strengthens it, makes it impossible to ignore. When you skip the choice, the drum weakens. and silence threatens to take over. You don't want silence. You want the pounding in your chest, the undeniable beat that pushes you forward, even when you're tired, even when you're broken. There will be nights when you sit in darkness, staring at the ceiling, asking yourself if it's worth it. And in those moments you must remember, the price of discipline is always less than the cost of regret. Regret is a chain, heavy and rusted, that drags behind you for decades. Discipline is a blade, sharp, clean, painful at times, but it cuts you free. Do not mistake discipline for punishment. It is not cruelty. It is creation. Each repetition chisels you closer to the figure you are meant to become. Like a sculptor, you strike the stone day after day, blow after blow. To outsiders, it may look monotonous. To you, it is holy work. The dust on your hands, the sweat on your brow, they are proof you are shaping something greater than comfort ever offered. And here lies the crescendo, the moment you cannot ignore. Someday you will stand in front of a mirror and not recognize the person staring back. The eyes will be sharper, the posture stronger, the presence undeniable. You will realize that every small act of discipline, the mornings you rose when you wanted to stay in bed, the hours you worked when no one applauded, the choices you made when comfort whispered, they were bricks. And together they built a cathedral, not of stone, not of glass, but of you. The silence returns after the crescendo. You feel the weight of that vision, the cathedral of your new self standing against the backdrop of your old ruins. You understand now why you cannot stop, why you cannot relax into mediocrity again. Comfort has no throne in this cathedral. Only fire does, only discipline. So tomorrow, when you wake, do not seek the thrill of motivation. Seek the quiet strength of repetition. Strike the match again. Step into the rhythm again. Guard your fire as if your life depends on it, because it does. The vultures of your past will keep circling. The shadows will keep waiting, but as long as your fire burns, they cannot touch you. And you, relentless, will keep building, one small atomic habit at a time, until nothing in your old life can recognize you. There comes a point when the war is no longer against the world outside, but against the whispers inside your own skull. The voices that tell you you've done enough, that no one is watching, that slipping once won't matter. You know them well. They've lived with you since the beginning. They wear the faces of friends, the tone of parents, the sneer of old failures, but their strongest disguise is your own voice, echoing back in moments of weakness. You cannot kill those voices. They are stitched into the fabric of your memory, but you can rise above them. You can strip them of their power, starve them with action, silence them with proof. Every time you act in defiance of those whispers, you remind them that you are no longer theirs to command. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast canyon. On one side is everything you've always been. On the other side is everything you could become. The canyon is deep, endless, filled with echoes of your doubt. There is no bridge, no safe path across. There is only the leap. Most people stand there forever, paralyzed by the drop. But you were not built to stand still. The leap is not a single act of courage. It is thousands of smaller leaps, strung together day after day. Each habit is one plank laid over the abyss. Alone, it feels fragile, insignificant, breakable. But step by step, the planks hold. Step by step, the bridge begins to take shape, invisible to those who quit early, undeniable to those who keep going. One day, without warning, you look back and realize you are no longer standing on the edge. You are halfway across. The abyss still yawns beneath you, but fear no longer rules you. The wind whips, the voices scream, but your steps have rhythm now, steady, deliberate, unstoppable. This is where transformation becomes destiny. You are not trying anymore. You are not hoping anymore. You are living proof that persistence bends reality. You are the evidence that small atomic actions carry nuclear power when stacked without end. But destiny demands sacrifice. You cannot carry your old self with you across the bridge. You must drop the baggage, the excuses, the half-promises, the stories you told yourself to soften the sting of quitting. They cannot cross with you. If you try, they will drag you down into the abyss. So you let them go, one by one, until the weight is gone and only fire remains. And then comes the crescendo, rising like thunder in your chest. The realization that the leap was never about reaching the other side. It was about becoming the kind of person who leaps at all. The kind who does not freeze on the edge. The kind who trusts the bridge of habits they've built, plank by plank. The kind who does not bow to the voices of doubt, but drowns them out with relentless action. Listen closely. You are no longer chasing change. You are change. You embody it. The air around you carries it. Others feel it when you walk into a room, though they may not have words for it. They see it in your eyes, the sharpened focus, the fire that refuses to dim. They hear it in the rhythm of your words, the certainty of someone who has fought their shadows and lived to tell the tale. But even here, even now, you are not finished. The journey does not end with becoming unrecognizable to your old self. The journey ends when your very existence ignites others, when your discipline forces them to confront their own excuses, when your fire becomes contagious. That is the mark of true transformation, not just changing your life, but becoming a spark that sets off a chain reaction. So you keep walking across the bridge, not because you are desperate, not because you are afraid, but because it is who you are now, a builder of habits, a guardian of fire, a destroyer of comfort, a creator of destiny. There will still be days when the wind howls louder than your resolve, when the planks feel thin and the abyss feels close. But you already know the answer. You don't stop, you don't wait, you don't turn back. You take the next step, and the next, and the next, until the canyon is behind you, until the world you left cannot even imagine who you've become. And when that day arrives, when the bridge is complete and the echoes of your old life fade into silence, you will understand the truth you were chasing all along. The habit was never about the task. It was always about the transformation. Writing a page was not about words on paper. Running a mile was not about distance. Lifting the weight was not about strength. Each act was a declaration. Each habit was a rebellion. Each step was a leap. Now you stand where few dare to stand, unrecognizable to who you once were. You are the proof that quitting was never your fate. You are the living embodiment of persistence turned into power, and the fire you guard now is eternal. The dust has settled, the noise of doubt has faded. What remains is you, forged, stripped, rebuilt, not the person who once waited for motivation, but the one who learned to strike the match every single day. The one who understood that quitting was not in the blood, but in the choices, and that choices could be remade. You look back only to see ruins, the scattered pieces of the self that once begged for comfort, once flinched at the first sting of effort. Those ruins no longer hold you. They are monuments to the life you refuse to keep living. Ahead, there is no finish line, no applause, no perfect dawn waiting. There is only the path, endless and demanding, but you no longer need promises of ease. The struggle is not a punishment anymore. It is proof. Each breath you take is aligned with the rhythm of discipline. Each step echoes with the fire you chose to protect. This is your new life, not given, not wished for, built. And from this day forward, there is only one law you live by.